Sitting comfortably in the shade on East 7th Street in the East Village of New York City, it's one of the most iconic historic bars left in the United States, McSorley's Old Ale House.
Someone once told us you could teach a high school history class in McSorley's Old Ale House, and he was right. This place is like an informal history class where the bartender acts as teacher and guide.
And to guide us through the bar's history, we talked to Pepe, who's been at McSorley's for over 30 years.
This was one of a million places in this part of town. In 1854, you couldn't fall down in this neighborhood without falling into a tavern, a bar, a pub, or whatever. This is the Bowery. The Bowery was bar after bar after bar after bar after bar. It was the worst degenerate place in the whole city. It was, because the Bowery is synonymous with bums, vagrants, out-of-work actors, you name it. And this is one of the few that survived.
And it was in this Bowery that Irish immigrant John McSorley chose to create his tavern.
John McSorley was born in 1827 in County Tyrone, Ireland. He immigrated to the U.S. like thousands of his countrymen and women in 1851.
Within a few years of his arrival, he opened up a tavern called The Old House at Home. What's amazing about this story is that we can speak about the place as something that's still here. Oh sure, there are other old bars around, but they've changed names and owners and even identities. But the magic of McSorley's is that it hasn't changed a damn thing. But how is that possible?
Why did McSorley's survive for a lot of different reasons. Luck. Across the street there's a new building right now. It's part of a school called Cooper Union. But back in the 1860s, there was a building there called Tompkins Market. And they had a huge roof. And it was part market, part drill area, meaning the soldiers would drill on its roof. I mean, do their whatever, drilling, or whatever soldiers do. And the 69th Regiment was called back from the Civil War to protect this neighborhood because they were having draft riots. Draft riots were people who couldn't pay their way out of fighting in the Civil War. Some people paid their way out. They called them draft riots. The poor couldn't pay their way out. So what happens? They start looting and burning and rioting. Abe Lincoln calls the 69th Regiment back. We're lucky because they're right across the street. The rest of the neighborhood goes up in smoke.
Wow.
And that's just one example of why we're still here. And nothing in the place has changed. Nothing. They hang a picture, it stays there for 100 years or longer. Abraham Lincoln stands on a chair for a rally. They put it above the icebox, stuff it full with a bunch of other stuff, and it stays there for, you guessed it, another 100 years. And take these wishbones. The story goes that John McSorley would give an ale and turkey dinner to soldiers going off to war. They hung them up as they left, and when they returned, they took their bone down. So those hanging belong to the guys who never came back. They're still there, hanging on the gas lamp like the days the soldiers left.
Everything in this joint should be in a museum. And in truth, it kind of is. People wander in, buy a couple of ales for admission, then they sit down at one of the small, ancient, scarred tables scattered throughout the tavern, and they examine the exhibits around them. And speaking of ale, that's all they serve here. Two kinds, light and dark.
John McSorley sold only his item, his product, his work. When he turned this place over to his son, William, John found out that William introduced liquor, because everybody was selling liquor. John came back, fired his son, took the place back over. Next, he said, I don't want you selling a liquor. I want you, if ale's not strong enough, then you can't work here. William got rid of the liquor, and he worked here for 65 years afterwards.
The ale was John McSorley's recipe, and a favorite of many visitors and regulars alike, like Souther Teague, who comes here at least once a week for lunch and always has about 4 beers.
This is the way they serve them. They only serve 2 varieties of beer, and they're both McSorley's beers. They've got McSorley's Light and McSorley's Dark, and they come in deuces. You'll see the guys pouring the beer when the place gets rolling. He'll have as many as he can hold. I think maybe I've seen him with 8 in each hand, and he's just going under the taps with them. Wow. And then they, carry them out and pass them out. It's just an effective way. They're pretty foamy. You see how much lacing we've got from this one falling down a little bit. It's roughly a pint, but you get 2. roughly a pint combined, but you get 2 for efficiency, for speed, and that's the way they've been doing it forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Very cool. And is that light or dark?
These are the lights, yeah. So that's the thing. Light here is not super light.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not. I figured that was too dark.
Yeah, they're cast conditioned. They're really soft. They don't have a ton of carbonation. The lights are a little less bitter. I usually start with a light. I'll get halfway through my sandwich and switch to the darks. I think I prefer the darks, but first beer of the day, I need something a little bit easier entry.
They also serve basic lunch dishes, including salads, sandwiches, and soups.
This is a liverwurst sandwich. It's Jewish rye bread, thick slices of liverwurst, thin slices of raw onion, and that's it. On the tables they have their house-made spicy Dijon mustard. You just smear a little of that on, a little bit of salt, and it's go time.
And that's your lunch.
That's lunch. And it's one of the best deals in New York City. This whole assortment here is $9.
I know what you're thinking. Liverwurst, raw onion, and mustard? That's it? Truth is, this kind of food has been serving their customers since the beginning, and it was at the center of one of McSorley's biggest controversies.
Their motto used to be, good ale, raw onions, no ladies.
That's right, since their founding, McSorley's has been a men-only tavern, and they were fiercely proud of it, denying even one of the owners of the place, who happened to be female, entrance until Sunday night after they'd closed.
But that changed August 10th, 1970, when the National Organization for Women won their Supreme Court battle against the bar, and McSorley's was thrown open to the gentler sex. Luckily, the walls are still standing and the sky didn't fall. In fact, McSorley's is even more popular as a result, and now is perhaps the destination bar in New York City.
As we said about other places, there's just too much history to cram into this program. We could talk about the sawdust on the floor or the 150-year-old original bar. We could talk about JFK's original death certificate or the paper announcing Lincoln's assassination.
We could talk about these things all day because there's just so much history to this place. But the best thing to do is come here and see the bar for yourself. Buy a couple of ales for entry and spend half a day just looking at the walls. Talk to Pepe or whoever's behind the bar at the time and enjoy one of the U.S.'s landmark bars.